One of these cameras is my Sony a6000 mirrorless camera. It's got a pretty fancy lens on it. The other camera is a webcam. So I don't know if you can tell right now by looking at the difference between the two, if you can tell which one is my pretty expensive camera and lens setup or which one is the webcam. The webcam we're talking about is the Yolocam S3. And before I do a bunch of tests, let me give you some background. So Yolocam, they reached out to me. They asked if I wanted to review the webcam. It says it is a webcam that could replace a DSLR camera or something like that. And I thought, hey, why not try it out? And I just plugged it in, and I don't want to say too much. I don't want to share my opinion too much, but I don't know if I've been as impressed with the webcam just plugging it in as I am with this one. And I will show you which one is which in just a second. But before I do that, let's run through a bunch of tests. This first test is a low light situation test. I don't have any lights on. I do have 3 monitors. So the light that you are seeing is coming from my monitors. Now I have the overhead lights on. I've got basically 3 can LED lights. So this is kind of the normal setup that most people would have, just kind of like plain old white background and lights overhead. So this is kind of what it would look like. This is the natural light test. Now I'm in the basement. It's kind of dark, but I opened up the curtains just a little bit. It's letting in a little bit of light, not a lot, but this is again another low light situation with a bit of natural light. Now I've got kind of my standard studio setup. I've got a couple key lights up here and then colored lights on the side. So this is usually how I like to film. Typically with a webcam, it doesn't look that great, but with my mirrorless camera, I think it looks pretty good. But yeah, do you know which one is the webcam and which one is the mirrorless camera yet? Just a few more tests. For this test, I'm going to bounce some light off the wall and get it reflecting. So I've got some bounce light, kind of like this lighting setup. The reason I'm bouncing the light, I want to shine it directly on my face to see if we can get some like highlight clipping or highlight bleed. So let me turn the light around and shine it directly at my face. So it is super bright right now. You want to be looking right about here. See what kind of highlight bleed or clipping is. I don't know the term for this. See how it looks with a really bright light shining directly at my face. Okay, let's turn this around. And the last test I want to do is kind of just an autofocus test. Now my cameras aren't at the same position, so I'm not going to hold it too close, but I'm just going to hold this up, see how quickly these cameras focus, holding up an Ethernet cable, holding up petroleum jelly. Let's try my Rubik's Cube. I'll move this around a bit. We'll kind of move it back and forth, see how this focuses. And here's the camera that I am not filming with. All right, so do you know which one is which? We've got the Yolocam S3 right over here, and then my normal camera that I usually film with right over here, Sony a6000. Honestly, after running some of these tests, I may not be using the Sony a6000 too much anymore, because check this out. Boom, boom, boom. Whoa. Yeah, I don't think my Sony a6000 can do that with some keyboard shortcuts. When I do product reviews, I really try not to share too much of my opinion. I just kind of show it how it is. And hopefully that test did help you kind of decide if you think this webcam is good. It feels weird calling this a webcam. Like I'm looking at the webcam, then I look at my screen and I think this is not a webcam. I really am impressed. Like I've tested a bunch of different webcams. Yeah, I'm just impressed. That's all there is to it. All right, so I've got the software open. I have it set to focus on the face. That's why I think I've got this yellow thing around me. Let's just walk through some of the features. So you can do portrait mode or landscape. You can switch it pretty nice and easy. Let's switch this up to 60 Hertz. Image settings, you can make it look bad if you want to. Black and white if you want to. So we got focus on the face, center focus, and then you can zoom in and out. So here's kind of this is as wide as it gets, fairly decent. And then you can zoom in. This is 4K. So this is as zoomy as you can get. And I gotta say, I got great looking eyes. No, I mean, that might be true, but the detail zoomed in. Sorry, this is creepy. I'm gonna stop talking. Got exposure. You can set it to manual or auto. That's crazy. So you can set the ISO. I'm gonna go back to auto. So this is kind of like the settings you would expect to see on a mirrorless or DSLR camera. White balance, you can do manual for that as well. Ooh, that is nice and blue. go back to auto. I do want to point out you can go to hotkey and you can turn hotkeys on and off. So it has numpad and you can set this to be what you want. I kind of like the numpad idea. Kind of wish I could add more. Can I add more? I can delete one. Nope, can't add more. So you can see I have kind of different zoom levels. So I can press 1, that's the default. I can go press 2, widescreen, 3, kind of punch in a little bit more, 4, punch in all the way. I really like how quick and easy it is to make those shortcuts. That's actually really, really cool. Usually when I do a product review, I test it out for a while so I know what to talk about. So I'm kind of sorry. I literally just plugged this in, but I was so blown away that I wanted to run through a bunch of tests and try it out. And so this is kind of just the raw. I opened it up, I plugged it in. This is what it is. I gotta say, with the software, not super impressed with the UI. And in fact, like when you download the software, they host it on Google Drive, kind of sketchy. I do really like the shortcut keys and you can make some changes. I like that you can do landscape or portrait with this webcam. The fact that it looks as good as it does, and I've never heard of this camera before. So I'm gonna write back to the company and be like, what's up? Because this camera is amazing. I will post links below. I am sure I'm gonna do more videos on this webcam. I am really impressed with it. I still can't believe this is a webcam. Pretty cool. All right, thanks. Peace.